How's it going, guys? Woody the Mortar Mauler here. I am so excited for this new Clash Royale update. This update brings us a new tournament mode called the Challenge mode. Now you can either do a Grand Challenge for 100 gems or a Classic Challenge for 10 gems. But either way you cut it, it is an excellent deal, a great way for especially highly skilled players to get fantastic value from their gems. I've been having a lot of fun playing around with it this morning, and I wanted to share some games with you that I had. I had a pretty good challenge run, and I think that these might be worth watching if you want to learn a little bit more about how the challenge system works, or if you're just interested in seeing some more high-level Mortar gameplay. So with that, let's hop straight into the first match. I'm up against Andrew Pratt first. Let's see how this game goes. Throwing out the good luck, we're ready to start things off with our classic challenge run here. I take that back, this is actually a grand challenge. But at any rate, Elixir Pump Out Back gives me an opportunity to make a quick attack early on. Bomb Tower does not intercept the mini P.E.K.K.A. in time, and with that, Andrew Pratt is in a lot of trouble here. Loses this first tower, not even in the first 30 seconds, and with that, he's going to have to make a big comeback if he wants to stay in the game. Zap gets an elixir-efficient trade against the minions, and I'm not too worried about that bomb tower on his side of the field. I've got the 1-0 advantage, so I'm just going to wait and see what he does. Barring any big attack, we're going to pump up in the center there. That protects us from any miners because it allows the towers to shoot, both of the towers to shoot the miner. Big attack over on the right side, though. Barbarians plus the balloon make it very difficult for me to be able to stop it. But minion horde arrowed down allows only one bomb drop from this balloon. Andrew Pratt is reeling now. The WoW goes out. Maybe he was making a bigger effort to try to make that tower go down in one fell swoop, but didn't manage to pull it off that time. No zap in hand. I've just got to distract these minions and finish off the slightly weakened musketeer on the right. Mini P.E.K.K.A. is a very efficient way to do so. So with that, I'll continue pumping up to an elixir advantage. When you're ahead in tower damage, you want to try to regain any elixir that you lost. And same thing, if you're ahead on elixir, you've really got to push for that tower damage quickly, or you might find yourself behind and out before overtime begins. So with that, the mortar baits out a balloon from him. Quick response from the minion horde finishes it off, but the arrows can't hit both the minion horde and the princess. So once again, Andrew Pratt has taken a lot of damage over on the right side, bring him down into the triple digits. He's pushing back with a musketeer, but mini P.E.K.K.A. once again right on the bridge is a fantastic way to deal with those ranged weak units. Mortar's going to go down, get a bit more chip damage in there, see if we can't make this a 2-0. Starting off strong with our classic challenge, rather grand challenge. It's the second time I've made that mistake. Starting off strong with our grand challenge here, we got a miner sent in to do a little bit more chip damage, and with that, we've got that second tower down. Just have to defend for another 26 seconds here. Kudos to Andrew Pratt, building up one last counter push. Might be trying to go for the 3 crown here, but minions up top are going to decimate those barbarians. The musketeer doesn't have much of a chance in making the connection that she needs in the last 10 seconds, and so with that, the defensive mortar goes down, and we will count out the timer as this game concludes the first of my grand challenge run. There, I got it right that time. On the morning of the September 19 Clash Royale update. So well played to Andrew Pratt. Let's see the second game now in the series up against the player Hisser from Exploits. Hisser and I both start off with a pump in hand, and that is how we will start the game off. Deploying that in the center. Safe, easy spot. Gets an elixir advantage. Proactive card that you can play pretty much any time. We both sit at 10 for just a couple of seconds here. Hisser for a little bit longer than I do. But my mortar, thank goodness, with that 4-second deploy time, just barely manages to lock onto that tower. And is going to get a lot of value getting several swings off before it's taken down by the Valkyrie Musketeer combination. Miner sent in, gets several chops off on that Elixir Collector. And I now find myself at both an elixir and a damage advantage. Hog Rider coming in is going to get chopped up by this mini P.E.K.K.A. Looks like he's going to get one swing off, but we're not too much worse for wear. Distracting skeletons here. Whoa, we got an alert there. Good friend ESLYO. Let's make sure that we don't get any more alerts during the recording, though. Shout out to ESLYO. He's a good friend of the stream. But we're moving back in now with a minion horde minor attack. Poison does very efficiently handle this, but he was worried those minions were going to reach the tower, and so he winds up using his zap anyways. We've got a fantastic elixir advantage over Hisser right now. 6-3, that gives us the opportunity to make some poke damage happen to finish off this game before we get into overtime. That's really how these mortar decks like to operate. I get lots of poke damage early on and try not to allow double elixir time to be too long. That's especially punishing in beatdown decks that have cards like Three Musketeers, Golem, Lava Hound, things like that make it really difficult for the chip damage-oriented mortar deck to work out. So with that, he drops a cannon to defend against this mortar, but it's just out of range. And so the mortar locked onto that tower is going to get several shots off, bringing it down very low in health before the poison finishes it off. Knowing that I've got that right tower in the bag, I decide to move in on the left. Poison is out of hand, so Minor Minion Horde is the line of attack. Minor gets several swings off on that left side pump, and it is down for the count. So with that, 30 seconds left. Both of his towers are very weak, but not quite taken out yet. Trifecta is a very difficult combination to counter here, so let's do our best. The Minor Minion Horde over on the right, we get a split from our minions, very nice split. Makes it so that he can't zap all of them at the same time. Princess snipes that left side tower down, and with 16 health on the right side, it is within zap range, but the Spear Goblin manages to finish it off ahead of time. So with that, Hisser made a very nice dent over on that right side tower, down to triple digits, but not quite all the way. Well played, and good game to him. The second in this grand challenge that we will watch here now. So let's check out the third game, and it is an explosive one. Sparky Master up on top. Not sure what his name is. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm going to call him Sparky Master because that is a very identifying card. Any deck that has a Sparky in it usually builds that deck around the Sparky. Sparky does a ton of damage, but it's very difficult to get that connection off. So let's see if the opponent does manage to get one of those big connections that he's looking for, or if we're going to be able to stop him for the entire game. So right now he's got one elixir advantage on me, but with a princess on the field, I have the field advantage, and now the damage advantage on his right side tower. Lacking options to deal with this princess, he chooses to pump up in the back center and then follow up with an Ice Wizard to kill this poor princess, but by that time she's already gotten almost 1,000 damage on tower. Very slow response with these big, heavy decks that run Sparky. It's difficult to ensure that you can respond to chip damage from the mortar, so I think that I'm pretty well situated right now to close this game out with a W. I've got his tower on the right side now down to half health and haven't suffered any damage myself. We're neutral on Elixir, and with the death of that Spear Goblin, we're also neutral on field presence. So pumps once again go down for both of us. Proactive card, easy way to generate that Elixir. He's shuffling between all his cards, not sure quite which one he's going to play. A lot of times players here will play the Sparky out back so that they can build up for a big push. That's what he chooses to do. Meanwhile, I'm going for the Mortar. Chip damage up front. Giant goes down, but not quite enough time for him to distract this Mortar. And with that, we're going to zap that Sparky so that she doesn't finish off my mini P.E.K.K.A. too quickly. Mini P.E.K.K.A. is going to chop through that Giant. Minions finish off the Goblins and the Sparky, and then they go in just to rub salt in the wound to finish off the Ice Wiz that was supporting that push. So lots of additional chip damage over on the right side. I want to go in for the kill. I don't want to have to worry about getting damage off in the double elixir time, so I move in with the Princess. A bit aggressive on my end, I'll admit, but do manage to salvage this defensive Spear Goblin placement here by protecting them with the Miner and then zapping down the minion horde. So moving into the final stretch of the game here, we only need to get 106 more damage over on the right side. I could zap it twice, but I do like saving my zap for Sparky against Sparky decks. You can see here the minion horde doesn't get a whole lot of value, unfortunately. I do find an opportunity to distract the Sparky, placing Spear Goblins all around her. That helps me ensure that I don't take that deadly Sparky Blast straight to the face of that arena tower on the right side. Spear Goblins get a few chippy shots off on the right side tower, and it is now within zap range. We're in defensive mode now, just having to stop this last little Ice Wizard push and making sure that this giant doesn't reach the tower, setting up a defensive mortar to prevent him from doing so. With 3 seconds left in the game and zap in hand, 6 damage left is not a whole lot to have to do, and so we'll drop that zap and send him the GG. Sparky Master up on top, fought well, but didn't emerge victorious that time. Next game is against Carbo Knight from the Hebrew Hammer clan. He throws out the good luck. Then starts off strong with a Hog Rider push over on the left side. Hog plus those Goblins make for a killer combination. I probably should have zapped a little bit sooner there to prevent those Gobs from getting any chip damage off on the mortar. I wish that mortar could have gotten a shot off on tower, but hitting that Ice Wizard is pretty decent here. I get an excellent read on his minor placement, though. Drop those Spear Goblins, and that Princess doesn't go down. That's going to mean that he's going to have to spend a bit more Elixir to finish her off. Zap is his method of choice, but that leaves me 2 Elixir ahead. I'm hoping he's just running Zap Ice Spirits so that I can do a minor Minion Horde push. Unfortunately for me, though, he is running that Fireball, so that's going to shut down my Minion Horde push. Princess out on defense is going to chip away at these little Gobs and give him an opportunity to set up the next line of attack in this game. So Ice Wizard goes down. He will finish off that Princess. Poor Princess gets a couple of shots off, but doesn't do quite enough damage. Ice Wizard is quite beefy, so we'll distract this Hog Rider with a Mortar out center and then finish off this Ice Wizard Hog combination with the Minipeka defense. Now we do, unfortunately, suffer some minion attack here, but the Spear Gobs chip away at them and then do a little bit of double duty. One last Spear Gob there throws his Javelin at the opposing miner and takes him out. So even on Elixir now, we're just a tiny bit behind on tower damage on that left side. I've realized that most of my attacks aren't making much of a dent on his tower, and so without moving in too strongly with the Mortar, which I need to defend against Hog Rider, or Minion Horde, which is hard countered by his Fireball, I start to pump up in the back. I think that that's probably going to be important to do as this game continues. Gaining an Elixir advantage will give me the ability to eventually make a push that he cannot respond to or cycle quickly enough to my win conditions such that he is not able to drop his responses in time. So sitting in a miner to get a little bit more chip damage in here. Unfortunately, that Minipeka didn't survive. A hard counter to this Mortar, though, from the Inferno Tower. Fortunately for me, I noticed it just in time, dropped that Minion Horde, and distract that Inferno Tower. Mortar now, almost at full health, is finally going to lock onto the tower. I don't have Zap in hand, though, so I can't deal with these Goblins, unfortunately. Spear Gobs were the response, but we only get 1 shot off in the tower on the left side. But we're doing quite well. We've been pushing our Elixir advantage, doing very well in double Elixir time here. The splash damage that I get from Zap plus the Princess has given me ample opportunity to finish off the Goblin minion attacks that he's been doing, supporting that Hog Rider. And so with that, I'm just going to continue the same line of play that I have been all game, pumping up, trying to gain the Elixir advantage that I need for a big push. And so a little bit of aggressive Mortar here, I will admit, gets taken down by the Inferno Tower, and then Miner out in front is going to finish off this Princess. So I'm in dire straits right now. This is actually a pretty tricky position to be able to come back from. Hog Rider gets several swings off on tower, and it's done over 1,000 damage to that left side tower during the course of the game. But with the Elixir advantage, I do manage to get the defense that I needed there, and once again, a bit too aggressively dropping that Mortar out in front, but it does soak some shots from the minions. It gives me ample time for those Spear Goblins to take out that main line of attack. The Spear Goblins don't finish off that Ice Wizard, and so unfortunately I'm forced to drop Minion Horde straight out front to deal with this Hog Rider, down very far in tower damage, but pumping up to a massive Elixir advantage right now. Currently ahead on both Elixir and Elixir pumps, so if we can just survive for a little bit longer, we will generate so much Elixir that he won't be able to stop us. That's the game plan right now. Dropping Mortars to distract as many Hog Riders as I can. Minipeka expertly finishes them off, and with that Fireball out of his hand, I realize that it's the time now to move in with my Minion Horde. Zap does not finish them off, and the Ice Wizard doesn't get any shots onto that Minion Horde. With that, we've still got 2 pumps up, and we're going for even more of an advantage, but not necessary. The Spear Goblin minion horde. Minor attack finishes him off. Well played by Carbonite. And a good game to him. So the next match in this series is up against a giant wizard user, Big Boy 369 from the clan Immortal Legacy. How are things going to go in this match? The proactive pump card starts things off slowly on my end. Giant from my opponent leaves me a bit hamstrung. I wish that I had started off with a mini P.E.K.K.A. Didn't though, and so with that we're going to take a lot of damage on this left side tower. I really should have dropped that mini P.E.K.K.A. further away from the tower so that he wasn't able to get splash damage from the tower, and rather from the wizard hitting both the mini P.E.K.K.A. and the tower. But at a massive damage disadvantage, he's almost taken that left side tower down, done over 2,000 damage to it. I'm going to try to continue this game best way that I know. With Fireball out of hand, I realize that it might be a good time for a minor minion horde attack. However, Big Boy 369 has just got a ton of options in dealing that splash damage. Sends in the Baby Dragon. I know he's also got Wizard in the deck, so at this point I pretty much realized that Mortar is going to be my primary win condition. Might be able to get a few swings off with that mini P.E.K.K.A. on the tower, but the fact that he's got a giant is going to make it very difficult to go all the way. And so I start pumping up for the elixir advantage. We've got a minute 45 left in the game, so that should be ample time to make the connection I need. I get a value zap here, hitting the Spear Gobs and that minion clump, but it looks like I was just a little bit too short on damage, didn't finish that giant off, and he reaches the tower, punches it down, and Big Boy 369 starts off with the 1-0 lead against me, just halfway through standard time. So with a minute 20 left, I've got enough time to get value from that elixir collector. You only need a minute 10 in order to get all 7 elixir from it, so you can pretty much break even if you play it with just a minute left in the game. Mortar does get one shot off on tower and will distract this Baby Dragon. I try to get some damage off with that mini P.E.K.K.A. Gets countered by the minions, but I fortunately save my princess by zapping those minis in the last second there. Spear Gobs get a little bit more chip damage, and at 10, I'm forced to now make another line of attack. I think that the best way to do that is to go aggressively with this miner, and so we do manage to do that. Mortar fortunately distracts this giant, keeps him off of my tower, and with the chip damage that we've got from the miner and the mortar there, we managed to finish it off. Big attack movement in on the right side. I'm ahead in elixir, a little bit behind in tower damage, but I've got a big field advantage, so I push that. He's distracted, and I use that to advantage by dropping that princess directly onto his left side tower. Forcing him to play on the left side prevents him from being able to push the right side tower that is a little bit vulnerable right now. So I'll send in that miner to get the last few swings off on the wizard, neutralize this big left side attack, and with the elixir advantage, we'll just continue pumping up to preserve my spot in the game right now. I know he doesn't have rocket, he doesn't have lightning, so if we can get him to even to spend a fireball onto my pump, I'm pretty happy with that. He does have a lot of splash damage, so a lot of ways to deal with this minion horde response, but we do manage to take out the Baby Dragon and Barbarian Clump, preserving our princess and getting a bit more chip damage on the left. So going into overtime, same plan as last game, pump up as much as I can, distract his giant, or in the case of the last game, the Hog Rider, using my mortar, and then get all the splash damage that I need from the princess, zap when I need to, and get a little bit more chip from the Spear Gobs. So with that, we're going to move in for another line of attack, Spear Gobs plus the miner. Unfortunately, that miner does not distract the Baby Dragon there, so I lose my Spear Goblins pretty quickly. Mortar, distracted by the Barbarians, is going to get some pretty good value doing damage against them. I've still just forced my opponent to play on the left side of the arena. It's a great advantage to these siege decks that you're able to require big body responses by your opponent. So with that, he gets one swing off in the tower, but not too much worse for wear. We're a little bit ahead still in tower damage. Every time he uses that fireball, I'm going to try to punish with a minor minion horde attack. Fortunately for me this time, I do manage to get the minions to connect a little bit with that tower. The wizard was distracted by the miner, and with that, one shot from the mortar and some more covering fire from the princess seals the deal, and with a 1-0 deficit at the start of the game, we managed to pull off the 2-1 win over Big Boy 369. Launch into this next game. We're once again up against an opponent whose name I cannot pronounce. The Japanese player starts off with the thumbs up. I think it's a Japanese player. I hope it's not a Chinese player. I just can't recognize the difference between the characters. But the giant on the left side gives me an awesome opportunity to move in on the right with a big minor minion horde push. The zap is not sufficient to be able to finish him off, and so he has to cycle into poison. He cycles a bit too slowly, and with that, that right side tower is completely nuked. Poison drops all the remaining attackers, but 74 health, puts it within Princess range, makes it so that I could finish it off, even with a miner if I had to. And so it's a defensive game right from the start here. Those first 30-35 seconds gave me a great edge that I will try to develop into both an elixir advantage and a dower advantage as we move into the later stages of the game. So he chooses to support these skeletons out front. I don't really think that was a good idea. He made a big commitment here dropping the giant. He knows that I have minion horde and didn't have the resources necessary to deal with that big air-based defense. So with that, Mortar's going to get several shots off on that left side tower before the Musketeer is able to engage. And once again, he's having to decide here if he wants to commit to this kind of small push here that he's got with the Musketeer, or if he just wants to leave it behind. He does choose to commit here, and I will give him kudos. He manages to get quite a bit of damage off on that left side tower. But moving back now with the mini P.E.K.K.A. Princess push, poisoning it down means that he's going to be vulnerable to a minor minion horde attack. So let's take care of this tombstone and then build up enough elixir so that we can execute that deadly combination. Minor minion horde moves in on the left. Miner's going to distract the tower. You suffer one loss there of a minion. Zap goes down to try to finish the rest of his off, and unfortunately I only save one minion. A little bit slow with Zap on my end, but we do still manage to bring that tower down to triple digits. 682 puts us just about even on the left side, and with that big advantage on the right side, I think that I'm pretty well positioned to win the game. We'll place a distraction mortar in the center of the arena here to pull that giant away. Poison goes down, so mini P.E.K.K.A. is not too bad of a choice here. Minion horde probably would not have been able to take that giant down with that poison out if he had zapped them, so pretty happy with that choice. I'm just going to lose that left side tower. I figure that it's pretty low anyway, so let's go ahead and continue the attack over on the left. Things are getting a little hairy here toward the end. Neither of these towers are within zap range, and so with 26 seconds left, I do have to get a connection somehow. Mortar, Miner would be great ways to do that. Spear Gobs also get a little bit of chip damage, so I send in kind of all of the different modes of attack, and fortunately managed to connect on both sides with them. Defending this right side with the mini P.E.K.K.A. minion horde is sufficient, and with that, the player up on top, giant player, is going to lose this game, a 2-1 to a very close match. So, yeah, very well played. And let's move into the next game of this series here. How many games is that so far? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've gone 6-0 since our Andrew Pratt match. So let's go up next against another Sparky player. Can't wait to see how things go in this match. Just like I said last time, though, anyone who plays Sparky will tend to start off with the Sparky out back, lets them build up for a big push, and so that's how he chooses to start things off. Same thing as that last Sparky match. I'm going to go with the mortar out in front to get a little bit of chip damage. Unfortunately, this princess with her slightly reduced area of effect doesn't manage to get the damage that she needs off on that right side. I dropped the minions. I intended to drop them after my opponent's princess engaged with my princess, but with Zap out of his hand, I figure it's a pretty good time to move in. With the Spear Goblin push supported by that Miner, it's going to do a massive amount of damage to that right side tower. Pretty incredible if you think about it. It's just Spear Goblins behind that Miner push, so we'll give credit to the princess. She did contribute to that push quite a bit as well, but Spear Goblins, uncontested, will do a ton of damage. Zap is nowhere to be seen from him, and with just that Ice Spirit supporting these massive giant Sparky pushes, I think that we were quite well positioned to finish things off. So, pumping up in the back, I'm trying to just cool things off a little bit here, get some chip damage in with the princess when I realize he's going for another big push, though. Ice Spirit Zap is a great way to finish off that princess, but no elixir advantage gained there, and the Ice Wizard is just a little bit too slow to be able to finish that off. Minion Horde, once again, getting fantastic value, dealt with 9 elixir worth of troops by my opponent. So with this pump up and with an elixir advantage, I want to split push here now, dropping the mortar on the left and Spear Gobs on the right. It's going to force him to either lose that right side tower or take a ton of damage over on the left. He chooses to split his response, and so well played by him. Doesn't lose either of his towers, but does take one mortar shot over on the left side. Princess is going to defend against these spear gobs. Manages to hit both of them this time. Good job, Princess. And with that, we're going to drop the minion horde out in front to try to protect this princess. I didn't realize, unfortunately, that the miner out back was going to cause me to lose that princess. But we're going to continue this chip line of attack. The mortar, fortunately, locking onto that tower, is going to be able to finish off the princess. Doesn't get that initial chip damage off on the Sparky, but will manage to bring that left side tower pretty far down, maybe into triple digits. So while that Ice Wizard is distracted on the mortar, I send in the Minion Horde. I love it whenever Minion Horde can split up like that. It makes it very difficult for the opponent to deal the AoE damage necessary to finish them off. So Minor Spear Gobs is the next line of attack, just kind of applying consistent pressure here so that my opponent, I2 from Poland, doesn't get the opportunity to seal the deal. Mini P.E.K.K.A moving in, gets one more chop off in the tower. Zap is going to immobilize that Sparky. And with that, we've got a nice 2-0 win against I2 from Poland. In this case, he was not the one who 2'd. I was the one who got the 2. Sorry, that was really cheesy, wasn't it? Okay, moving into the next game in this series, we are currently, what is that, 7-0, I think? I think so. So we're up against Luke Skygamer from the Italian Knights. Very excited about my performance so far in this Grand Challenge. 7-0 is an excellent start. If we were playing a Hearthstone game right now, this 7-0 run would ensure that I get enough gold to continue playing the challenge. But there's no gem reward for challenges, and so we will just push as hard as we can here to get a bigger reward in-game, hoping that we can pull off the 12-win run. That gets us 1,100 cards. Massive reward. Almost 2 super magical chests if we manage to pull off the 1,100 card run. So fingers crossed we can do that. But getting back to the game here, Luke Skygamer expertly recognizes that I'm out of responses to a Goblin Barrel. Zap is out of hand, and Princess was not in rotation either. So Minor, a very awkward response to the Goblin Barrel, manages to prevent too much damage on this tower. I seek now to drop this Princess so that I can finish off his Princess and get some more chip damage on tower, but I only get one swing before the Barbarians take her out. Once again, hamstrung by having to defend against both front and back end attacks. I'm going to take a ton of damage over on the right side. Spear Gobs finish off that Princess, but 329 is not a very secure position to be working from, not even halfway into standard time. So I acknowledged I had no responses to all these big Goblin Barrel minion pushes. Was just going to lose that right side tower anyways, and figured that it was time to start trying to just continue the chip damage so that we can make this a 2-1 match. Luke Skygamer drops a pretty inefficient elixir response, I must say. The Inferno Tower to kill the Princess gives me ample opportunity to pump up in the back. I've got over a minute left in this game, so I figured that I've got a pretty good opportunity to make a comeback happen here. Spear Gobs out front are going to finish off this Princess, fortunately just in time. Zap doesn't finish them off, and so with that Inferno Tower ticking down in health, I decide that it's time to move back in on the right side, get a little bit more chip damage with that Miner. Fortunately, Luke Skygamer does not have any defense to this pretty big attack, so with that, we're going to finish off the right side tower. Princess deployed 2 tiles away from the tower, ensures that she doesn't take splash damage from the enemy Princess. She will go down to this Miner. No, actually she doesn't. I take that back. Mini P.E.K.K.A dropped at the last second will distract that Miner, and shots from both the Arena Tower and the King Tower, as well as the Princess, ensure that Princess from my side stays up. So with 2 pumps down, I'm really trying to make this a long game. I need to ensure that my elixir advantage gives me the opportunity to push in for the big attack that I need to seal the deal here. Mortar does lock onto the tower, but not quite long enough to get that shot off. We are at a big elixir advantage now with 3 pumps down on the field, but have to defend against a pretty big attack. The Zap bait deck here doing great work against me. I manage to zap the Gobs on my tower to make sure that they don't do any damage, and finish off the Minion Horde attack. Unfortunately, Zap takes out my Princess and the Spear Gobs, but we're back again, pumping up. Same type of play that we had the first few games in this challenge series. We are just trying to endure as long as possible, gain that massive elixir advantage. Whenever you're up against an opponent that doesn't have an elixir collector, dropping elixir collectors of your own as often as possible, especially if your opponent doesn't have a hard counter like Miner or Rocket or Lightning or Poison or anything like that, is a great way to just seal them out of the game. They don't ever get the opportunity to do enough damage or find the rotation well enough because you are cycling through your counters so quickly that they don't get any chance to make headway into the game. So that's the game plan here. It's doing quite well. Zap does not finish off this minion horde. Fireball, nowhere to be found. A little bit too late. So with that, the minion horde finishes it off. That one last hero minion takes Luke Sky Gamer down. The Italian Knights suffer a 2-1 loss there. So with that, we are 8-0 now, moving up against Marcel from Clan Berggrau. Marcel's going to defend against this minor minion horde attack with Fire Spirits out on the back right, but manages to miss 2 of the minions. No zap against those minions, and with that, he's going to lose 1,000 damage on that right side tower. Very nice line of attack coming in, though. Guards protecting this mini P.E.K.K.A. Leaves me a little bit short on defensive options. I take a big hit on that right side, but just about even on Elixir, and with that field advantage from the mini P.E.K.K.A., we're not too far behind in the game at this point. If I got one swing off on that tower, I would have been a little bit happier with the position, but the Fire Spirit response means that I am now cleared to move in with that minor minion horde line of attack. No hard counters left in Marcel's deck that I'm aware of, and so with that, minor minion horde moves in, trying to get the kill on that right side tower. Let's see how Marcel responds. It's with a pump. So with that, Marcel's going to lose his right side tower, and it turns into a defensive game for me. Got to keep that right side up for just over a minute 45. At 1,084 health, I think that he will not be able to poison me out, so he's going to have to make a connection with either his big pushes based on that mini P.E.K.K.A. guards push or use his alternate win condition. It looks like that win condition is a giant-based attack. So let's see how he executes things here. I drop Spear Goblins right out back to distract that mini P.E.K.K.A. Fortunately, get it there just in time. Mini P.E.K.K.A. distracted for a pretty long period of time. Mortar doesn't finish her off, but the mini P.E.K.K.A. of my own, plus an unnecessary zap spell, manages to seal the deal and provide for the defense that I need to keep that tower up. So Marcel's cycled back to Elixir Collector. Now's a great time to play it. He probably recognizes that I don't have any big spells to be able to punish that deployment back there behind the tower. So I'll send in a minor minion horde. Unfortunately, Marcel does manage to get those Fire Spirits off against me, but we're going to continue our defense on the left here. Marcel commits to this left side attack. He's got guards and mini P.E.K.K.A. out in front, and so I think that he thinks that he's got a bigger force to move in on the left side than he would have otherwise been able to put up going in for a left side push. But with that mini P.E.K.K.A., the hero of the day, chopping down the opponent's mini P.E.K.K.A. and Giant, we are well positioned now to move things into the final stretch here of the game and try to defend this left side tower. I think it was actually probably a mistake, to be completely honest, to try to push that left side instead of the right. That first initial left side push might have been value since he was gaining the guards to help support it, but I think that after that push failed, it was probably just better to move in over on the right. He's got some really big bodies in the Giant Bowler that are quite durable against the minion horde line of defense. If he could just have dropped some Fire Spirits out on the back line, he would have been able to protect his mini P.E.K.K.A. Bowler on the back end. But didn't choose to do that, went for the left side, didn't pan out for him that time. And so with the 9-0 now, we're going to be moving into the next game of this grand challenge up against DXB from Albania Elites. DXB starting off slow in the back. Going to drop that Musketeer. I try to counter with a minor minion horde push. Great early line of play from the game if your opponent doesn't have any big splash damage. That can make a huge connection. Unfortunately for me, though, he did that time. So with both an Elixir advantage and that field advantage, he's going to be able to push his tower damage disadvantage into a lead overall. Mini P.E.K.K.A. Princess is a pretty inefficient response to this Musketeer, but my thought process is that I can go in for the counter push. Surprise, though, Bowler comes in, and with that, I have basically no response. Minion Horde would be a great way to deal with it, but it's out of my hand right now, so I'm going to lose that Princess and just drop a defensive mortar here to try to stymie this push. Fortunately, the mortar does go down in time to be able to block this boulder, so a pretty elixir-efficient response here. Turned out to be pretty well since he played that poison out front. I got the opportunity to send in the miner minion horde. I needed to distract that ice spirit out back, though. Didn't manage to do that, but the miner does finish off that musketeer. And so with a massive elixir disadvantage, but a slight tower damage advantage, I'm going to try to take this thing down before we get into overtime. That's really my primary mode of winning this match. However, DXB expertly realizes that gaining an elixir advantage is his primary win condition, and so he pumps up in the back left, pushing for a massive assault over on the right. He sends in the bowler, going to back that up with a giant out in front, and then a musketeer toward the back. No elixir yet to drop the poison to finish off these minions, and so I think that he will probably lose that bowler here. Actually, not quite. It appears he had just a little bit of health left, and so a little bit late on the mini P.E.K.K.A deploy there. I take a swing on that right side tower, down to 1864. We're now just slightly behind in tower damage, but massively behind in elixir. Not a good position for a chip damage-oriented deck like the Mortar to be playing in. I try to catch up on elixir. Didn't know if I should try to set up a defense here instead, but seeing that Prince, I know I'm in huge trouble. I had played my Spear Goblins a little bit too early, trying to counter this big push and get some extra damage off. But with that Poison Zap combination, the minions go down. The Prince chopping away at the tower is going to do a massive amount of damage, and with that bowler sending in that last boulder, unfortunately I have no way to stop this huge push at the end. So with that, well played to DXB. The last 20 seconds here are a pretty desperate line of attack from me over on the left side, trying to put this into overtime to get that 1-0 that I need. But DXB, sending the sad face, knows that I have no way to respond, executes me expertly with that 3-0. Congratulations to DXB. Puts this challenge behind just a little bit, a 9-1 right now. We're moving into the 11th match of this grand challenge. How will things go against our next opponent here? I think I should just refer to my opponents if I can't pronounce their name by their clan emblem. So Snowflake here up on top is going to play a Princess Outback. I start off with a pump. I like this position a little bit better. Lets me get the elixir advantage that I need while sending in some miner to do the chip damage to the tower after finishing off that Princess. So Spear Goblins had been intended to support that miner push, but didn't manage to get off in time. Check out that mini P.E.K.K.A zap, though. Finishes off my opponent's mini P.E.K.K.A. And unfortunately now, I'm left a little bit weakened against this big minion horde push, but splash damage from the Princess does lock on. We didn't get any miners from my opponent to try to deal with the Princess. So with that, we try to get a little bit of chip damage on the left, but it doesn't quite work. Princess is going to finish mine off, and now Snowflake has got a pretty good tower attack going on here over on the left side. Zap finishes off that Spear Goblin defense, and with both the guard and the miner, I choose to ignore this attack, but probably the wrong decision. He actually deals a massive amount of damage against me, over 1,000 to that left side tower, and so I think that it's time to continue pumping up and trying to preserve my spot in this game. I'm happy with this game lasting a little bit longer because he's not running one of those massive beatdown-oriented decks. So sent in the miner a little bit too late, unfortunately, there, so I was forced to zap to reset the targeting of that Princess. We got quite a bit of chip damage in on that right side tower, and my Princess manages to win the duel and finish off these guards before moving in for some left tower chip damage. Zap out of his hand, he's forced to commit with the mini P.E.K.K.A. Spear Goblins are a wonderful line of defense against mini P.E.K.K.A. Ranged, chippy units like that will distract long enough to give us the advantage we need. And so with that, pumping up again, we're going to try to put this thing away in the next minute or so. I know I can get value from that pump, though, and so right side line of attack is going to be Mortar. That cannon goes down a little bit sooner than I expected, but the Mortar still has quite a bit of health. Finishes off that enemy Princess and gives me ample opportunity now to get a couple of swings maybe off in the tower. Only got one, actually, that time. But with that pump going down, I figure that it's time to drop another Mortar, trying to get some middle deployment to work here. We keep one minion alive, and that one lone minion there gets multiple swings off on tower, bringing it down to 568. Quite well positioned to finish this game off. I like split pushing with this minion miner Mortar deck because it enables me to do a lot of manipulation of my opponent that prevents them from getting their chip damage that they need to seal the deal. So with 568 on the right and 732 on my side, I know I've got a little bit of an elixir advantage. I try to place that princess right in the last few seconds of health of that cannon so that she can lock directly onto the tower, but Snowflake responds expertly, sending in that miner to get a little bit of chip damage. On my left side, I send my own miner to do the same to him. Miner does manage to lock on. Princess for the splash, fires off one more volley. Zap doesn't finish him off though, and I'm in kind of a tricky spot here. I've got to defend with only 540 health left on the tower. The miner goes in, connects with the tower. Spear Goblins are trying to take him out, but a little bit too slowly. I send in my own miner, and he doesn't get deflected. Guards were just a little bit too slow for my opponent, and with that, the final swing finishes off Snowflake and puts me in a 10-1 in this grand challenge. Moving in now on Game 12, we're up against Mahdi from Iran Bandari. Very well-mannered start off to this match here. Valk on the left gives me an opportunity to push the right. I go in for the minion horde. Fortunately for me, or rather I go in for the mortar line of attack. The minion horde set up to defend is very weak against this Princess Zap combination, so we'll get a couple of swings off on tower. But Mahdi, recognizing that I am short on building defenses, drops that Hog Rider, supported by the Valkyrie out front. I now think that it's pretty reasonable to expect that he's running the trifecta deck. He's either got the Zap Ice Spirit combo to deal with those big lines of attack where he's got poison. Didn't turn out to be true this time. He did actually manage to have arrows and Fire Spirit. So with two hard counters to my Minion Horde, I don't think that Minion Horde is going to be the main line of attack this game. So I try to get some chip damage in here. We're on the right side with Mini P.E.K.K.A. Spear Goblins. Mini P.E.K.K.A. just a little bit too slow. Doesn't manage to connect with the tower, but the Spear Gobs, in the meantime, have brought that tower all the way down to 628. Huge connection for which Mahdi is a little bit miffed at this point. Arena Tower takes out that Valk, and I'm now 3 elixir ahead. Gonna get some chip damage over on the right with that Princess. No arrows or fire spirits from him, so gonna be a pretty elixir inefficient response. The minion horde goes down, and I'll take a few of them out with my zap. Mahdi's happy though; he thinks he's gonna get in a lot of damage with that minion horde attack, but doesn't manage to pull it off. Minion horde of my own seals the deal. Defensive minion horde is very hard to stop. You got to send in arrows or a fireball, which take quite a bit of time to reach the tower. So the minion horde on my end manages to pull the defense off, and with just a little bit of damage on both my towers, not quite 1,000 even, we're going to move into the middle game here. Mini P.E.K.K.A. to defend against the Fire Spirit Musketeer Valkyrie combination gets a ton of value. We'll distract this Valkyrie with some chippy Spear Goblins here and just kind of continue playing a slow game, sieging him on the left over here. Mortar setup is going to force a response. Minion horde is his line of defense. But with the zap, we're going to take out all these minions. Unfortunately for me, though, those Fire Spirits deal a massive amount of damage to minions, so I'm forced to drop that Mini P.E.K.K.A. out in front to prevent them from making too much of a connection. Miner here to distract. It's going to pull those barbs back, give my mortar a chance to lock on and get a shot or two off on them before they get too close. Supported with Spear Goblins, we've got a pretty nice line of attack over here. Zap is going to deal most of the damage that we need against these minions. Get a few more shots out with the mortar. A little bit slow to respond on my part, I will admit there, but at the tower damage advantage and a pretty nice elixir advantage to him, pretty happy to just play responsively now. 4 seconds left, 1,000 damage on that left side tower. I was still ahead on the left, but managed to zap him down to put this series into an 11-1. And my hype was unending. I got to tell you guys right now, we're moving into what could be one of the first 12-win runs in a grand challenge in the entire game of Clash Royale. I was so excited, I couldn't tell you right now how much I wanted to win this next game. I did have a little bit of a buffer in case I lose this game to be able to go one more chance to get that 12-win run, but I really wanted to seal the deal here, so playing against the Goblin player, now I'll just call him Goblin. He's both running Goblins and his clan implement is a Goblin, so I think Goblin's a good name for him. He defends against this minor assault using guards, well played by him, and executes my Princess over on the right with those Fire Spirits. So made an unnecessary commitment here with these Spear Goblins to finish off the guards, but just playing it kind of safely here, trying to make sure that I don't take too much punishment from him. So seeing that he's pumping up, I realize he's probably going to try to go for a big push. I'm going to save Elixir of my own. Might have been a better line of attack to just drop a Mortar to try to force him to respond to prevent him from building up a big push, but as it turns out this time, that's not what I did. Minor Minion Horde goes in a little bit too late, though. Fire Spirits are going to expertly deal with this group of minions. Mortar is sent in to try to deal some more chip damage here, but without that Minion Horde, I really don't have any way of dealing with this P.E.K.K.A. out front. I'm really short on options right now. I figure that Spear Goblins plus Mini P.E.K.K.A. might be my line of attack, but the 3 Musketeers come in, and Goblin has completely surprised me. 2 massive lines of attack, both the left and the right side. I decided to try to defend against this P.E.K.K.A. push, but meanwhile, I'm suffering a huge amount of damage on the left. I barely managed to keep my right side tower up, but the Goblin Hog Rider push works to great effect on that left side. Goblin, my opponent here, pushed up a huge Elixir advantage and turned that into a tower damage advantage that he was absolutely unrelenting in this massive beatdown deck. Could not stop the pressure, and so with that, we are in dire straits here right now. 1 minute left. We're going to double Elixir time here, but down on the right side and having completely lost that left side, I really am at a loss for options here. Sending in a Minor Minion Horde is kind of a move of desperation here. We do manage to keep a couple of those minions alive to get some more chip damage on that left side tower, but I would really have to do a massive amount of damage here in a very short amount of time to put it into overtime. Do I manage to pull it off? The Mini P.E.K.K.A. is going to try to finish off this left side tower, but distracted by guards, doesn't manage to do so. That Mortar Zap is not going to finish off that right side tower, and so my opponent here, Goblin, is going to force me to send in that Miner to get the damage that I need. Minions try to finish off this P.E.K.K.A., but not quite quick enough. The Fire Spirits take them out, and so 17 seconds left. I need to do 10 damage to that left side tower. And it's looking like I don't really have much of any way of doing so. Mini P.E.K.K.A. Miner is the best hope that I have to try to get a couple of swings off into the tower, but the distraction from the Elixir Collector and the Hog Rider are sufficient to provide the defense he needs, and with that 2-1 puts me in a very precarious position in this Grand Challenge. I'm now 11-2. This is my last game in the Grand Challenge. Win or lose, it's all on the line here. Erfan from Persian Araz is my opponent. We exchange our pleasantries. Good luck. And move into this final match of the series. I can only hope that this game will give me the edge that I need to pull out the 12 win that I need. The Fire Spirit gives me hope that these minions are going to make a big connection, but unfortunately for me, hard countered by that Wizard out on the right side. I'm down now in Elixir because of that pump deployment, and we'll have to defend against this Wizard or else suffer several hundred damage. I actually misplay and lose a couple hundred damage on that right side tower, but with a Mortar setup, defending with a Mini P.E.K.K.A. and a Princess, I'm confident that I can get some chip damage in on that right side tower. Unfortunately, just one shot, but that is a pretty nice connection over there. And with 18-18 on that right side, I know I've got a tower damage advantage, but I'm behind on Elixir, so I send in the Miner to try to deal with this pump on the left side. Ice Spirit's going to freeze him, but he still manages to get several chops in. I think that that was value. And with that, Erfan has got a lot of Elixir, but his pumps are both pretty weak, and he's not going to be able to make too much of a big commitment here since we're not yet in double Elixir over time. So with that, I'm going to respond to this Sparky push by deploying the Princess out back. I know that he doesn't have too many chippy units that the Princess would get massive value against, but nonetheless, I think that that will be a good way to start off my defense here. Mini P.E.K.K.A. is going to, or rather Minion Horde is going to finish off this Valkyrie, and I zap that Sparky just in the nick of time to ensure that he doesn't get, or rather she doesn't get any shots off on me. And so with that, I've executed what I must say is a masterful defense against this Sparky Valkyrie Wizard push, and managed to push things closer to the double Elixir time, ahead on Elixir and tower damage now. I'm feeling optimistic, I'm feeling happy, but I know that with this big beatdown deck, I need to make a connection very quickly. Double Elixir time is not the best opportunity for me to win against beatdown decks, and so I try to send in a new line of attack now. Mortar is going to try to connect with this tower. Spear Gobs and Mini P.E.K.K.A. out back are going to defend the Mortar, and it locks on. Very high in health right now. I cannot imagine any line of defense for him to be able to stop this Mortar, and so with that, we get it down into the triple digits. Princess is moving in for a bit more chip damage. Mortar is going to go down once again to try to attack my opponent, get a nice connection against that Mini P.E.K.K.A. Wizard. deployment there, and with a mini P.E.K.K.A of my own, I'm going to try to counter push here. My opponent, I think, misplaced here, drops the Elixir Collector, thinking that this game is going to go long into overtime, but I don't want that to happen. We're going to drop the Mortar, finish this guy off, send in 2 Princesses, and with the Zap, we take out that right side tower. 15 seconds left in this match, in this entire Grand Challenge, and with that Mortar mini P.E.K.K.A defense out front, there is no way for Airfon to be able to steal the deal. With that, and the 12-2 run, this Grand Challenge on the morning of the September 19 Clash Royale update concludes a successful finish. So well played to all of my opponents during the course of this Grand Challenge. It was an roller coaster of emotions, and I cannot thank Supercell enough for providing this new mode of game play. I think that it is an excellent addition to the game, and I am so excited to be able to continue throughout the future playing this Grand Challenge format. So with that, let's take a quick look over here at this beautiful, beautiful 1,100 card Grand Challenge chest here. 22,000 gold sitting in that chest. And I think I'm going to hold on to it for just a little while. Want to see maybe if I can get some of these new cards after they get released. So tune in for more high-quality Mortar gameplay here on the Woody the Mortar Mauler YouTube channel. Please also check me out on Twitch at WWoody123. I also post on Reddit at WWoody123 and am a frequent contributor to the Mo Esport blog. Please follow me on Twitter at Woody_CR. Like, comment, and subscribe as always. Let me know what you thought of the gameplay in this Grand Challenge and what you think of the Grand Challenge format overall. I hope you enjoyed the matches, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day. Woody the Mortar Mauler, signing out.